everybody, how are you today? And welcome back to the series Being a Montessori Parent. Have you ever wondered why what you did with your first child just does not work with the second child? I've seen this happen in my own life, and I'm here to tell you why and how we can serve each child in the way that they need. So first of all, I'm going to say that parenting styles need to be tailor-made for the child. So now the question that arises is, how can I parent two different beings who are completely different to each other? So the answer lies in the question itself. The first thing that we need to do is to see our children as two different beings. They are not the same. So as a parent, if I have come up with something for my first child and now I feel, okay, now I have it as a parent, now I'm just going to replicate this, duplicate it with my second child, unfortunately it doesn't work that way. And sometimes it even backfires. How are we to change our styles to the needs of the child? The first step is to identify that these 2, 3, how many ever children you have are all different beings. They are not the same. The next is 3 important words that we need to remember, and that is observe, follow, connect. So to observe, you need to be a part of your child's life, and when we say observe, it means an objective observation without labeling or giving them names or making assumptions in our head. It's just observing from a very, very objective point of view. The next one is to follow the child, and that is once you observe, you realize your child's interests, your child's needs. These are 2 factors that we need to keep in mind, and that is the interest and the need, the inner need. So as you observe objectively, you understand the needs and the interest of this particular child, and therefore when you follow the child, you give those opportunities that are going to satisfy these interests and needs. And of course, when you're doing this, you're also developing a connect, because the fact that we are caring about the inner needs and the interests of the child is already a deposit in the child's emotional bank account, and this itself draws the child closer to us, and therefore there is a connect because we're allowing that space and letting the child be who they are. The most important thing that we do as parents is to set boundaries and of course give choices to our children. But what happens here is when we are setting boundaries for the child, we have to keep in mind that our own belief systems are very much into this boundary making. And how does this boundary suit this child that you have just observed, followed and connected? Is this boundary suiting this child? I'm not talking about the child wanting to eat candy and you setting a boundary that you can have candies 2 days a week. And I'm not talking about those kind of boundaries, because of course the child, that's not an inner need that is helping the child. That is why that boundary is right. But I'm talking about boundaries based on interest. For instance, we are so eager to teach our children everything on this planet that we want them to go to 101 classes. We want them to excel in every class that they go. And how is that even possible? Because the style that you are using is not tailor-made for this child. That means the meaning of tailor-made style is, does it follow the child and give him the required situations and opportunities to satisfy his or her interest and need. Interest and need, remember, they both have to be satisfied, and you will know this as you observe your children. So let me give you an example about how we set boundaries based on our own belief systems and needs, our own needs as well. So of course we cannot do anything that we don't know already. If it's not in our realm of understanding, how are we going to bring it into the child's realm of understanding? So as a parent, I think the openness that we need to have is there are certain things that are not in our realm of understanding. That means I have to understand that I don't know a lot of things. I don't know a lot of things about my own child too, because no two people can know each other 100%. So we are on the journey of excavating and finding this out. So I can tell you, for an example, in my own life, my needs, that is the social needs that I have, based on that, I set boundaries for my children. And I have 2 children, so I set the boundaries in my first daughter's case based on my social needs of interaction with people. I was lucky enough because my first daughter's social needs coincidentally were kind of similar to mine. They were not the same, but they were kind of similar. So we really didn't have a tug of war when she was going through her teenage years, or when children go to schools, the parties that they get invited to, the birthday parties, is just so many that you need to have a boundary. How many can you go? So this boundary that I laid based on my social needs and my beliefs were suiting my first daughter, and therefore we did not have a big tug of war. However, when the time came for me to implement, remember, we don't tailor make our parenting style. So I said, okay, I've already figured out, now the same thing will apply to my second child. And when I applied that, well, it did not work very well, because obviously this child had her own needs and her own interests, which were very different from mine. And therefore, my boundary that I set based on my belief system and my needs were not working for this child. That's when I realized that parenting styles need to be tailor-made for children. If they are not tailor-made, they will throttle the child, or they will be too loose and the child will not be able to find themselves. So it's very, very important that we observe, follow, connect, make boundaries based on the needs and the interests of the child more than based on our belief systems and our needs. The moment I changed that boundary for the child by understanding that this is her interest and her need, she still had this boundary through which she can work and make her choices, but they were in alignment with her own interests and her needs. And that made all the difference for our relationship, her development, and everything thereon. So I strongly recommend to come up with the parenting styles after observing, following, and connecting with the child. Then that will be extremely beneficial to the unfolding of the child. As your children grow older, you will see that they start making their own boundaries, and that's where more of our belief systems are going to be questioned. And as a parent, it is always important to be open to reflection and to look at things as they are rather than how they should be or how it was in the past. The child will be able to have space to be who they are, and therefore you're providing a complete nourishment to this soul to evolve and become that magnificent being that they are meant to be. When you align yourself with what is happening right now in your child's life and what is good for the child, then your parenting style will be tailor-made for this particular child, and that will make all the difference. So if you just liked what you're listening and would like to hear more, please do press the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And please do visit our website www.formativeage.in to know about all courses that are offered here for your own fulfillment and expansion. Thank you, and bye-bye till we meet again.